Hi guys, my name is Gavin Cooney. I'm the founder and CEO of Learnosity. I'm Irish, I have an Irish accent. If I'm speaking too fast, please wave or something. I know it's going to be hard to keep up. So I'm here to talk about how I did a bootstrapped Edtech startup. We're here at an investment conference, basically. Everybody's talking about private equity, everybody's talking about venture, and I did none of that. I didn't get investment, and I still built a pretty big company. We have about 80 enterprise clients. We're delivering 1 billion questions per year. We have 6.5 million monthly active users. People have authored 9.5 million questions in our platform, all kind of professionally authored questions. So this is not small, and we did this without any venture money. So, but we did this. This is the shed where we began. That's my parents' house. That's me in the back garden with my parents flying a drone, taking a picture. But in the background there, that garage is where we began the company. We obviously couldn't afford rent. We didn't have any money. And I guess I wanted to tell that story and talk about how it is possible to do this in a bootstrapping way and without consuming a lot of capital. I met a private equity company recently in London. And I came in and I was talking to him about how we're doing about 14 million ARR, annual recurring revenue. And he kind of said, look, guys like you are 10 a penny, come in here every week, tell me they have 14 million ARR. I was kind of going, oh God. And then he kind of said, but every single one of them have spent $25 or $30 million getting there. And I had spent minus $12 million getting there. So I guess it's an opposing view of where to go. And this isn't a statement about kind of lack of ambition or a lifestyle business or anything like that. The example I always give is one of my favorite artists, Oasis, the rock band Oasis. Noel Gallagher was asked in the 90s, he was always talking about how he wanted to be bigger than the Beatles. Really arrogant thing to be saying. And he was kind of confronted by a journalist one day and said, oh, you're always talking about being bigger than the Beatles. And he said, yeah, if you're in a rock band and you're not trying to be bigger than the Beatles, it's just a hobby. Well, kind of Learnosity is not just a hobby. This is not how you can kind of have a lifestyle business. This is how you can build a scalable, big business without actually consuming a lot of capital. And I just want to kind of make you question whether you need that VC. We're at an investment conference, and this is kind of the opposing view. And so I'm just going to talk to you through a few things I've learned along the way and a few of the anecdotes and so on of how we got here. So the first thing is around focus and discipline. And doing one thing and doing it really well. So our mission, and we're not going to talk too much about Learnosity itself, but we had a mission to make a difference in education. And we wanted to do this globally. And we kind of figured this was the best way of doing it. So something you should all have a look at is Simon Sinek's TED Talk about the golden circle and the why. You should see it and you should kind of own it and you should know exactly why you're doing what you're doing. For us, we decided we wanted to kind of fix education. We thought it was, all those social problems you can fix. Any social problem in the world can be fixed with education. I always see things in that way. So to do that, I could have started a kind of a year 7 math company and sold it classroom to classroom, a school to school, something like that. It just kind of seems a bit inefficient. So I wanted to reach the most amount of people, and that was kind of empowering a lot of education companies. And what we did there was build a set of APIs. We sold them B2B to a bunch of companies, and let those companies then innovate, and they can kind of rise with the tide of the innovation that Learnosity was doing. And it made us reach the most amount of companies, the most amount of students, and made the most amount of impact in education. But it all comes back to the why, and exactly what we were doing fed back to that. So the next thing is you need to know exactly what you're doing and where you are. This is a chart of lifetime value to kind of what kind of sales cycle is like. We start in the bottom left, you have kind of business to consumer products. They're self-service. You sign up yourself, or your friend tells you what to do. You log into Gmail for your mom, and you set her up an account. That's a self-service sale. Maybe some marketing in it, but no salesperson kind of came to your house and tried to sell this to you. But it's generally a relatively low lifetime value of a user. in the top left is the kind of, we all want to be there, that kind of transactional. You sign up with a credit card, and later on you spend fairly significant amounts of money with that company. So we signed up with a credit card with Amazon Web Services. We pay 60 to 80 grand a month in Amazon bills right now. That's a phenomenal ratio for the cost of their sale. So, excuse me, Stripe is another example. I mean, tons of examples up there. Generally the B2B space, generally something that has a virality to it. Somebody signs up themselves. There's not a consultative sale. Atlassian, Jira, Stripe being a payment system, Amazon, a lot of the Microsoft stuff. You sign up yourself, you buy it yourself, nobody actually sells it to you, and the lifetime value is pretty high. We decided to go into the top right-hand quadrant. That was a consultative sale process. Here I am in San Diego making a bunch of sales and meeting people and present flesh and all that kind of stuff. But the lifetime value of a sale is really quite significant. So it actually is worth our while sending reps out to do that, going to conferences, speaking, meeting people, all that kind of thing. And we're able to afford to do that. Of course, we want to move over to that transactional space in time, and that will mean credit card signups on our website and so on, but we'll kind of get there. But what I fear in the education industry is that bottom right-hand quadrant. That's where startups go to die. And if you think about it in education, especially in K-12, you go school to school, you're trying to sign up people, and then you're getting $6 a month or something for a user, or $6 a year rather for a user. That is in that kind of bottom right-hand quadrant, and you've got to avoid that at all costs. So you've got to know where you are and own it. The other thing we decided to do was we had this really generic functionality. A question, a multiple choice question, is a multiple choice question, is a multiple choice question. And it could have been for kindergarten, where you're choosing which one is the rabbit. It could have been in high school. It could have been the whole way into corporate or like basically, I call it K to grey, kindergarten to retirement. So we could have applied our technology anywhere. We had to focus somewhere. So we made some decisions early doors when we kind of created this product to go USA only, to go formative assessment as opposed to summative assessment. It was just an industry was moving faster, innovated quicker, to go K-12 only. And we decided to go to the top end of the market. We didn't want to do, as I talked about in the previous slide, those kind of hard-fought and hard-won sales that had a low lifetime value. And we decided not to do any, initially, startups or SMEs. Now we're going back and we're revisiting these things. Should we start working in higher ed? We have some proof points in different places, but we focused on one thing, which was K-12, USA, top end of the market. And again, this, talking about geographies, we talked about USA. We did a little bit in Australia as well, some strategic deals. We didn't really do any mid-market deals in Australia, so we know exactly where we're going. And now we'll tackle a different market and go to Europe, and we'll go after that and use some of the success we had in the US and do that. But I could have been completely unfocused, gone to every different industry, every different country, and you need to kind of do one thing and do it well. And it's kind of generally a theme here. When you're talking about your product roadmap, you get dragged in all different ways. You've got to literally draw this matrix up on your whiteboard and put your features in here. Your product, for one, should be low effort and high impact, and each of the features within that should be. So you start in that top left-hand quadrant. What is low effort for you, and what is high impact for your customers? Then you do the sort of harder stuff for you. You get drawn into those kind of easy things in the bottom left, and you shouldn't. They're low impact for your customers, they're low impact for your bottom line, and it's just so easy to be drawn. And like the previous chart, the bottom right is that kind of dead area where you can spend a lot of time and it's low impact for your customers. And you've got to be really, really honest with yourself about each of the features, and you've got to be really, really honest with yourself about your product in general and your company. Which quadrant are you in, and how can you move? So what we did was we went a mile deep and an inch wide in one thing, assessment technologies. And we didn't try to be all things to all men. We didn't expand. We didn't say, oh, we can do that for you as well. We tried to stay really, really, really focused and do one thing really, really well. And luckily, we were able to sell it millions of times. But it's around that. It's about, our sales pitch is around, look, we can, talking to a customer, it makes sense for us to do this better than you could ever do it. We have gone a mile deep and an inch wide on this stuff, and you as a customer shouldn't have to bother. And I always talk about Homer Simpson's car when I talk about this. And I'm not sure if any of you remember this like I do, but Homer Simpson designed a car, and it had all the bells and whistles, literally. It was all things to all men, and it was a disaster. And you need a single function thing. That's what becomes successful. So how do we plan for this? I want to talk about how we plan as a business. This is a kind of little known way of planning for business. It's called the OGS Model. A friend of mine I went to college with, worked for Procter & Gamble, and they were using it there. It's really, really, really interesting way of just kind of formulating your thoughts. So we talk about the objectives and the goals. The objectives are the big headline things you want to do with your business. And the goals are the numeric representations of that. And I'll show you some examples from Learnosity in a second. And then you have the strategies and measures of success. So the strategies are where we play and how we win. I think about what I just talked about a minute ago about we decided to play in formative in the USA in K-12. We decided what we were going to do there. We decided to go at a certain part of the top end of the market and so on. We decided where we want to play and then kind of measured the success of how we got there. And then we talked about how we win, providing great service, that kind of thing. And then we did a couple of iterations of this. And the latest iteration has the objectives and goals, which is kind of set at the C level. And then all the management team own the strategies and the measures. So there's literally somebody's name beside everything. So Ben is in charge of partnerships. So when we're talking about the section of the partnerships, about where we play in partnerships and how we win, Ben has his name beside that, and he owns what the strategy is and what the measures of success are. And it's a really, really, really interesting way of planning your business and then communicating that internally and externally. And you sit down at the end of the year and go, did we make those measures? Have we been successful? And of course that changes. Just by way of example, I wanted to show you the objectives and goals as we sat down. So we sat down, I don't know, a year ago, and we decided we would just set the goals about 10x, about an order of magnitude further than where we were at the time. So at the time we were doing about 20 million users in a 12-month period. So we said, okay, let's talk about 200 million users. We want to grow more than a third a year. We were doing about 10 million API calls a day. So we said, okay, let's talk about that at 100 million API calls per day. We're doing 100 clients or so, 80 or so, and we're talking about, let's do 1,000 clients. That just changes the mindset, right? If I said to the team, look, we're doing 80, we want to do 88, or we want to do 120, well, the procedures you have in place already, well, they'll generally work, right? You can generally support 1.5 times your client base or whatever. If you say, I want to do 10 times that, things have to change, and you have to build for scale like that. With the users, the infrastructure team in our business has to go, well, it's not just like a little bit of duct tape on what you have right now that'll get you kind of twice the usage. How can we actually build for real scale? How can we build for 200 million users or 100 million uses of the API per day? That's a mindset change. So that's where we set our objectives and goals in that. And these things were power the learning industry, raise the bar when it came to the product, and that comes back to the why I was trying to improve education, and maintain a great culture. And how do we measure those things? Is it a great place to work? Can people develop their careers there? And that kind of thing. And just writing that stuff down then really, really helps communicate that across your business. Finding a mentor. I've been speaking to a few people here over the last few days who are 5 and 10 years behind us in terms of what we're doing. And they've been asking for advice and so on. I'm only delighted to give it. But I found that we couldn't have done this by ourselves. It was myself and one other guy starting this, Mark. We couldn't have done this by ourselves. So I found some mentors along the way. I didn't have a kind of a board initially to kind of help me out. And it's amazing what people will do for the price of a coffee. I've had CEOs of major publishers just sit down and spend time with me. There's the number 2 at one of the biggest, the top 3 tech firms in the world. He's retired now. He's literally flown to Sydney twice for 10 days at a time to sit with Mark and I and do our planning with us for nothing, for the price of a flight. Just because he enjoys that stuff, we get on really well. It's cold and wet where he is. He flies down in February to Sydney. It's very nice. We go for a swim in the morning. We get into the office. We do a bit of planning. But this guy, for absolutely nothing, is mentoring and helping us do that. And it's amazing what you can get when you ask for it. Asking for somebody's advice. They've been through this kind of hard path before. And we did this, and our chairman is another guy who just kind of really, really helped us. And it's kind of giving you advice, helping you not make the mistakes that other people came before you and made. Just telling you stuff you just didn't know, the kind of unknown unknowns, and kind of helping you through when it's kind of difficult, because this stuff is not easy. And related to that, we're talking about making a reading list. There's a lot of knowledge out there. There's a lot of business books that are really, really useful. And I didn't have time to kind of go through a bunch of reading list here. But there's a number of books from entrepreneurs, a number of blogs out there for me about software as a service, about business models that really can help. So you should be a prolific reader with this stuff. It's amazing the little things along the way that I'm reading The Hard Thing About Hard Things, and it just resonates that day, and we change the business as a result of that. So you should always have a book in your hand, or be reading the blog. So now, obviously, we're bootstrapping cash. So coming back to this thing, that was the same graph we showed earlier on, but really what we're talking about is the lifetime value of a user versus the customer acquisition cost. I talked about before a self-service sale through to a kind of enterprise or a consultative sale. So that's the ratio you need to look at: lifetime value of a customer to customer acquisition cost. So keep an eye on that ratio. Ours were really, really good. So we didn't have a big sales team. We still don't have a big sales team. There's 80 people in the business. There's 4 salespeople. And for all the sales and marketing cost, we get about between 10, we had one anomaly year and a very big deal in 15, but we get to be 10 and 11 times what we throw in marketing and sales costs, we get back in lifetime value of deals. That's a phenomenal ratio. And obviously I'm pointing to something we should be doing here. We should just keep on deploying sales and marketing resources. What you basically need to do when you achieve market fit, like we have, is now start deploying sales and marketing resources until you get a diminishing return, until the last dollar of sales and marketing resources have gone in there and you're not getting any more dollars back. But we have spectacular ratios, and we need to almost disimprove them right now. So the concept, we built this business and we didn't have any money. So we had to do a thing called cash flow positive deals. It seems so obvious, right? But I'm not talking about profitable deals. I'm not talking about EBITDA positive deals. I'm talking about cash flow positive deals. So the first few deals we did, we went to the massive big publishers. We said, here is your problem. Here's exactly how we solve it. I don't have the product yet. I need to build it. And I needed to get them to pay me to build the thing before kind of renting it off me. And it was out of absolute necessity. If I had had venture money, if I had had money in the bank, I would have been able to build it and then rent it, sell them later on. But I couldn't. So I literally had to get them to pay for the thing. Now, it's a bit different now. But it is possible to do cash flow positive deals. Every single deal we've ever done in Learnosity is cash flow positive. And if somebody says to us, look, I can start paying you in year 2, sorry, dude, can't do it. It's just that simple. And there's a rule, the sales guys are not allowed to come back with it. I never did it. And that is how you build a bootstrap business, is that. And I can't kind of labor that enough. Obviously, there's cash in and there's cash out, and you have to be very frugal about what you're doing. Our first office was an apartment. After about 5 years of working in one of our clients, we eventually kind of got embarrassing when people were walking by and we're working on somebody else's project. So we had to go get an office, and this was in Sydney. So we got literally an apartment down the street, and we were all within there. Our clients came to visit one day, and we were on level 7. So the lift went to level 6, then you had to walk up some stairs. And we had like a sign, Learnosity this way. And we went to IKEA and bought the desks at the weekend. It was very funny, actually. One of the big clients who came to visit us one day, and we literally had to go to IKEA, buy more desks the day before they came in, and then bring in extra coats and put them in spare laptops. Oh yeah, Johnny's off today, and fake it until you make it. But look, this isn't hard. It's really, really hard. I've done about 80 flights a year in economy. We're talking about long haul. We're talking about an Irish company, me based in Dublin at the time, in Sydney, focused on the US. Made it hard for myself, right? But you're talking about flying like 80 times a year in economy and long haul. Like horrible things happen. Like I went to London one day from Dublin, got up at 4 a.m., got a 6 a.m. flight, got to my 9 a.m. meeting in London, and got in, and the man said, "Oh, was that today? Oh, sorry, like I'm not in the office, I'm working from home. Can you come back next week?" Right, fine. And I came back next week. We got a deal in the end, but like it was one of those things. It's not hard. It's really, really hard and disheartening sometimes. But I slept on sofas. I would go down to Australia for, 4 or 5 times a year for a few weeks, and I just overstayed my welcome with my friends and slept on their sofas and made their wives angry and stuff. This was before they had wives. It was only girlfriends. I could piss them off. It was fine. But slept on sofas and slept in hostels and so on because we couldn't afford a hotel. Our first office, the one I mentioned before, we had an airbed. And I used to sleep in the office on an airbed. And this went on until about the 4th time I arrived. And I remember flying in economy from Dublin, 24-hour flight, working all day, hopping into bed, and then I could hear this as the air is deflating from it, and eventually went to a hotel. And my business partner said, "I wonder how long that would take." And that was the first time we ever stayed in a hotel in Sydney. But this isn't easy. One of the story I'll tell you is I went to India one time, and it was this 3 or 4 week trip. I went from Dublin to India, which was really, really hot. Went to Sydney, which was really hot, and then went back through China. Again, all conferences and meetings and so on. And in India, went back to the airport, and they started trying to charge me for excess baggage. Charged me for 11 kilograms of excess baggage, 13 kilograms. It was 25 pounds or something of excess baggage. And they wanted to charge me $900. I'm like, I do not have $900 to give you. So I just put on 11 kilograms worth of clothes. And that is a picture of me from the airport in Mumbai. And I'm wearing 2 pairs of shorts, that's a towel around me, I'm wearing a coat, 2 hoodies. Eventually they stopped when I started putting my laptop down my pants. But it's the stuff that you have to do when you're bootstrapping. So the lessons learned, and I only have a couple of minutes left. One is that it's really, really important to stay true to your principles. And we talk about being sound. Would your mother be proud? And you got to do that the whole way through your organization, with your employees, but with your customers as well. Doing the right thing and staying true to those principles. And I've come across some people who don't act like that. And just the road is long, right? And you can kind of screw people over, and you're kind of dishonest and kind of sneaky about stuff. It comes back to bite you. So really think it really pays off just to be absolutely straight with people and do the right thing in every single way. Honor the spirit of a contract, not the word of it, and so on. I found my friends really helped me in ways. The OGSM plan I showed earlier on, it's one of my good friends from college, just giving me a little bit of help, showing me how he planned his business. It was massive, it was instrumental, how I planned my business. Other friends introduced me to the guy they were doing their MBA with, who worked in a publisher. That got me a big deal. Amazing how my network of friends were able to help me and get there, and you've got to be thankful about them. There's we pivoted a couple of times and tried to work out what we were doing before we kind of created the product I've been talking about here. But sometimes you have this kind of sunk costs and decisions. You have built your monitoring. We built 3 or 4 different monitoring systems for our product, and then found one off the shelf and deleted all that code and all that work that we'd spent a couple of years doing, and went and did that, because with new information, you have to make your decision, not the kind of information you had when you started. And it's really important to revisit those decisions and go for it. Maybe not something I've done particularly well is that work-life balance piece, but how I have done it is with all those flights, I would try and do something. It's amazing how my work schedule and my meeting schedule aligns with U2's touring schedule, which is kind of remarkable. So that sort of stuff. Like this weekend, I'm going to Coachella. It's just one of those things. My thing is gigs. My thing is concerts. So I just made it enjoyable for myself to go off and to do a bunch of things on the side. Celebrating wins. This is really, 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 really hard. So you got to make sure that you take a moment and celebrate as you go along. But more than that is thank the people who helped you along the way. We do little stuff when somebody signs up. We send them a little swag package and so on. But also we send Christmas cards. We handwrite Christmas cards to all of our customers and to all the people who helped us along the way and mentored us and so on, because they have helped us and they didn't have to. and you know, you don't forget that. So I'm Gavin Cooney. Please do feel free to email me, and that's it. Thanks very much.